Poker's legendary champions, next generation stars, and tireless ambassadors of the game, sharing their wisdom and guiding your journey to high achievement on the green felt. This is Tactical Tuesday on Chasing Poker Greatness with your hosts, Brad Wilson and Jon Chai.
Welcome, my friend, to another episode of the Chasing Poker Greatness podcast. As always, this is your host, the founder of ChasingPokerGreatness.com, Coach Brad Wilson, and it's Tuesday, so I'm joined by the one and only Jon Chai for Tactical Tuesday. Jon, how you doing?
How's it going? It's going to be our last Tactical Tuesday for me from this location, this IP address.
Yeah? How does that make you feel?
It's the end of an era. Hopefully my sound and lighting will be better at the new location though.
Yeah, so. the end of an era. We Tactical Tuesday has finally gone global, and so yeah, you can expand, get more space, just all the things that you've always dreamed of thanks to this humble show.
Yeah. Come a long way. We used to do only audio, man. That wasn't even that long ago.
Yeah. Life comes at you fast, you know? How was your recent experience with the frog, by the way, as part of the CPG Wolf program?
I'm not allowed to talk. We're just going to let everyone know about the frog?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's part of it now, right? Like, it's in pop culture. It's apparently what all of the stables are doing these days, so... You know,
I mean, I didn't want to do it at first, and then you made me drop down stakes to 500 because I wouldn't lick it. And then I was like, oh, you know what? After playing 500 for a month, I was like, it might be worth it. So
yeah. So
give it a try. And
this first hand is pre-frog, and then hand after this will be post-frog. What's the theme for today's show, by the way, besides...
Should we let people in on this joke, since maybe not everybody is as on poker Twitter as you and I might be?
I mean, even Shu knows about what's going on poker Twitter right now. If you don't know what's going on poker Twitter, then, I mean, heaven help you. But you can let people in if you so choose.
Okay, so there's a stable run by a pretty well-respected, well-known pro, and so one of the horses in the stable said that if you didn't do a lot of really wacky things like go see a shaman, lick a poisonous frog, take acid and shrooms, that his backer would always threaten to drop him in stakes. Yeah, that's what we were referencing.
Yeah, I have to say though, as just a funny little side note, we had a Wolf meeting maybe a month or so ago, and we were talking about the aggregation of marginal gains, right? Just like small things that can give you an edge. There was like, you know, better enhanced sleep and vitamins and supplements and nutrition and exercise and meditation, you know, all the things were discussed. And when I had Adam Creek on the podcast a year or so ago, he was talking about all the things that they did. Adam Creek won a gold medal in rowing and multiple time world champion, just very, very high level athlete, right? And he said that like before they got in their rowboat to go across the Atlantic Ocean, which was a thing that nobody had ever done, you know, they did a bunch of wacky things, and one of those things was they visited a shaman in Africa who supplied them with an energy shield before they left, right? And him and I were talking about it, and just talking about how like it's a thing that has almost no downside, right? Like even if the effect is placebo or whatever, like it's just something that they did that just has very minimal downside. So anyway, this ties into our Wolf meeting, where one of my suggestions that I've yet to do, by the way, I'm really dragging my feet on this, was to contact a shaman on Fiverr to get us, you know, an energy bubble and to go through that experience, right? I actually have like a whole job posting that I posted.
I thought you got some Fiverr. Applications for this.
I got a lot of applications, and then I kind of forgot about it and didn't follow up on it. It just goes to show you, right, that like you know, I was on the right track. Just I just forgot to follow up on Fiverr, but maybe one day in this next month or so, I'll give it a go. But for the record, no wolves are required to do drugs. Because if you don't, we just don't let you in the first place. So I can't even say it with a straight face. Nah, we let you stay an autonomous human being. You don't have to do anything that you don't want to do. But I think there is a lot of value in experimentation with different things to kind of see what works. But anyway, just a quick little anecdotal story about shaman and wolves, and now you can talk about this hand.
All right. So the only thing that we make you do in Wolves that you might not want to do is bluff. And that's going to be the topic of both of the hands that I brought in today. It's kind of a spinoff or a continuation of last week's Tactical Tuesday topic, which was what size should I bet on the river? Both of my hands last week were value hands. So this week we're going to do two bluffs. I also think it's related to a lot of the discussion that's been going on, or some of the discussion that's been going on in the Chasing Poker Greatness Village, or in Greatness Village. I think last week in Tactical Tuesday, like I made a comment about someone's hand and like kind of committing to your bluffs a little bit more strongly, showing more commitment when you're bluffing. We had a little bit more like conversation about that yesterday in one of the hand history channels. So I thought that I'd bring in two hands that really show what commitment looks like.
And for the record, you know, one can be a little too committed to their bluffs as well.
That's true. That's
you
true.
know,
one of these might have been a little bit, more commitment than necessary.
Yeah, it's great for, you know, your future wife, that you're this committed to things. But sometimes when it comes to poker hands, maybe not so much commitment, but.
I have a funny story about it. So Sai, my fiance, did see one of these hands while it was being played live. Like she just happened to be walking by me, and I'll tell you what she said when it happens. It's not this hand; it's the next hand. So we'll save it for then.
All right. So this hand, committing to the bluffs, you open 3x on the button with a 6 and a 4 of spades. To the best of my knowledge, by the way, I'm pretty sure we did a coaching session like 8 or 9 months ago, and it was specifically about the 6-4 of spades, and you didn't open it on the button. And now here you are opening it on the button. Not only opening it on the button, but I have to imagine, because of this week's theme, committing to it like it's everything to you.
Well, okay. So this hand was played quite a while ago, September or February 4th. I'm guessing that I was still playing my normal pre-flop ranges back then, but then I saw this likely fish in the small blind. Obviously, I don't know for sure. I'm playing 2-5 zoom, and it's hard to get like great reads on whether someone's a fish or maybe they just lost a hand, 2 seconds ago and didn't have a chance to reload before they got zipped into this hand. So I'm guessing that I was not regularly opening the 6-4 suited, but I saw the fish and I was like, you know what, let's play with the fish.
Sure.
But I am opening the 6-4 suited now, so our coaching session was did not go to waste.
Yeah, it wasn't in vain. Yeah. All right, so you open at 15. You're playing 500 and L with a 6-4 spades. The big blind defends. You're about 150 big blinds deep, I believe. You get a flop that just crushes you. The ace of hearts, jack of hearts, and deuce of diamonds. Clearly, this is your board, right?
I know you're saying that sarcastically, but I actually think that that's how you should be thinking when you're playing a single raise pot as a pre-flop raiser and you see like two Broadway cards on the board. You should just be like, this is all me. I'm ready to like do whatever it takes to win on this board, because the big blind, once they only call pre-flops, never has ace jack offsuit, never has sets except for deuces, never has like ace king, ace queen type hands that are strong top pairs. So while I know you were joking and saying like the 6-4 spades does not connect at all with ace jack deuce hearts, but I was actually pretty excited to see this one.
Yeah, it connects with your heart, which is what matters most. And you start with half pot here on the flop. Villain defends, and the turn is an ace.
Oh, so it's just getting even better.
Yeah, so basically villain checks and you bet, looks to be like 70% or so. I guess the first question here is, I mean, when you bet the turn, you're pretty committed, right? To the bet.
As soon as I saw the flop, I was like, it's just this is
Okay, so
yeah.
you were committed on the flop to bet. Why 70% here, and why not like 90 or an overbet?
I think I could totally do that. I think I could started on the flop with an overbet and just gone like overbet, or pot, or it almost like doesn't matter what you do, because the big blind or excuse me, the pre-flop caller in these situations is just like so handcuffed that by the fact that they don't have nuts or near nuts in their range, that I almost don't know how much it matters, like what sizes you go. Yeah, I guess like overbet might be like the most convincing, or like pot or something like that. But
And
I don't think it makes that much of a difference.
For the record too, like this is a Zoom pool, which changes things a little bit, right? Like, would you be so willing to take the same line at a regular table where there's at least some data points that villains can collect over 50 or 100 hands?
Yes, as you will see in the next hand.
Well, okay, so again, let me press. Would there be situations where you would not just be going absolutely crazy here, like you've been caught bluffing 3 hands in a row? No. So you're just,
I mean, this is like not even like a function of like, oh, I got caught bluffing. It's just like they just don't have any hands in their range that can handle this. So like, unless you're gonna start making some like big hero calls and
they
like
have
just
deuces, right?
okay, fine, yeah, you have deuces, you have one boat like that you didn't check raise on the flop, like nice.
Yeah. Maybe
I
some
can live
ace
with that.
deuce.
Yeah.
Maybe some ace deuce. Maybe some ace jack. Like maybe they don't 3-bet ace jack in full.
When you see what I do on the river, like I think even like ace deuce and deuces is not gonna they're not gonna be like, yay, like I have a full house, I get to call. Like
Yeah. So I think you're foreshadowing that the river is not going to be a small bet. You go 70% on the turn. So $40 villain calls. There's 140 in the pot, and the river is a 9, which makes ace 9 a boat, I guess. Jon is very much unconcerned about ace 9 because he is committed to his bluff. And the river, you pile for 671 for a 4.5x overbet.
yeah, I think this might have been a little bit too much commitment. Maybe don't know if I needed to go this far, but essentially what I'm saying on the river is like I have bricked hearts or gut shots and full houses, and trip aces is not going to beat value. So if you want to call with your ace x here, or like really just hero it off with a jack or something like that, like you're gonna have to like you're only gonna beat bluffs if you do win, and none of none of your value hands are gonna beat my value hands when I go this size.
Right. And so the argument becomes like, if you're doing it with 6-4, like you obviously, it's obviously an exploit, right? And you're obviously exploitable if villain starts calling lighter than they should.
Right.
You just don't believe villains will call as light as they should.
Right. Or it's really, really hard, especially in Zoom, right? He's like, well, I have no idea. Like maybe this guy's just kind of a fish who like wants to get the max with ace jack, or, tops.
I would say there is a lot of value in zone on ignition specifically, because you've got 15 seconds and no time bank. So like you have 15 seconds to make this decision and commit, or you run out of time. And hitting people with like the 4.5x rip on the river does make them think, right? Their first thought is shock.
Like, yeah, you spend like 5 seconds like, oh my God. Like,
yeah, then you got to collect yourself and actually try to like think about it,
Then you have 3 seconds.
Right. Well, it does get through, and you put the ring on it and all the things. Like this is pre-flop. On the flop, you had a prenuptial agreement, and you went through all the way. And so you bet 671. There was 142 in the pot. Villain does fold a jack. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe Yeah. It's hard to
I mean,
say.
my, like,
right?
kinda
It's
goal-
hard to say like what happens with like their ace-x, which will be some of their range, right?
Yeah, for sure. But I think like I don't know. I mean, ace-x is nice in the sense that it blocks like my really really good hands that I would do this with. Although like I mean, I would still have like jacks and like deuces, but I don't think people look at ace like naked ace-x, non-boat ace-x, and think again like you're not going to beat my value like just because you have an ace in the spot. So I actually don't know like how different it is minus the really really nice blocker.
Yeah, I think having a queen is probably not great for them. Like they don't have a heart, so I guess that's pretty good. But
Yeah.
they want to block like king queen and queen 10.
Right.
They don't want to block king queen and queen 10.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, like again, I would like to see if villain has like an ace with no heart, what they do here. I don't know how to judge with just the jack, although, yeah.
I think like seeing what they do with the jack though is like again part of what my discussion was on like kind of committing to your bluffs and like bluff sizing on the river was like in this spot like I would say like I just want a jack to like never even think about calling this spot. Like they just look at okay whatever, I can't call, I have to have at least an ace in the spot, so I just like don't even think about it, just fold the jack. Like I don't even want the inkling of like hero calling with a jack to ever enter their mind. So if I ever got called by worse than like ace-x in the spot, I would just be like sick.
Yeah, obviously, because that's printing.
Right.
If they call with like any pair, that would be quite sad for you. All right, well,
any comment on like maybe what size I should have gone on the river instead of 4.5 or?
I mean, I just what do you want me to say? I don't know. I'm influenced by like their exact hand, and I don't have any information regarding like whether or not they're going to fold trips. So like, I think if you're targeting a jack, like I don't know, 2x pot, like basically we have to look at like the fold equity that needs to be generated, and like 2x pot, you need to generate more than like 2/3 folds. 3x pot like 75, and then 4x pot like 80. So Philly needs to fold like over 80% of the time here using this sizing. 80% of the range is not Jack X. So again, I'm not exactly sure, right? Like if an ace folds, then I can get on board, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I mean,
I'll keep doing the field research and
yeah,
finding out if
you
an
just
ace
keep
ever folds.
sticking all the money in and find out if an ace folds. But basically, like the more you risk, like in an ideal world, you find the spot that's most efficient, right? Like 2x, 3x, where like you're gonna fold out all Jack X's with X sizing, and they have more than X amount of Jack X in their range that you're targeting, and then as you move beyond that, you have to start folding out hands other than Jack X, which is Ace X, and then trying to figure out like how many of those they have would be the way to go about like figuring out whether the size is like efficient or you can go smaller. But yeah, I'm unsure personally. Just because
you're not sure, just be safe.
I'm unsure the efficiency of your sizing is what I'm saying, because this is like a pretty foreign size to use, the 4.5x on the river. Hand number 2, going to be bigger stakes, post frog. Let's see if Jon is still as committed as pre-frog. Stick around after the break.
Are you a lone wolf searching for the ultimate pack? The CPG Wolf program is a close-knit brotherhood hell-bent on one thing only: chasing poker greatness. Powered by bleeding-edge wolf strats and led by Coach Brad and his lieutenants, CPG Wolves are systematically prepared for almost any spot they'll encounter on the green felt. If you want to plug into an elite team and have a step-by-step game plan to realize your full poker potential, you can apply at cpgwolves.com. Space is limited, and the pack is only as strong as its weakest member. So only the hungriest, grittiest, and most driven will be accepted into the program. Applications are open at cpgwolves.com.
All right. Welcome back from the break. Today's theme, commitment with all of your heart, soul, body, everything. Fully committed. Bank account, just everything. Another one of the prerequisites for joining Wolves, by the way. You just have to sign over your life and let me be power of attorney.
Why, so you can ghost them when they're playing like they're really deep in like a cash game or something?
You know, growing up, I never realized that I really wanted to start a cult, but here we are, and maybe it's like Creed Bratton says, you know, more money in running the cult, more fun being a cult member. I don't know. All right. By the way, just for the record, these are all cult and cult related jokes. No power of attorney needs to be signed over to me. So you have the Queen Knight of Hearts playing 1K and L.
Yep.
You open under the gun 2.5x, and the big blind defends. Oh no. I know what's going through your mind now.
Oh, my favorite flop.
Ace King 5 rainbow.
Yeah. This is even better than the other one because like they can't be like, well, he might have bricked the flush draw. But the other one had 2 hearts. Like this one's just like
Oh, I have Ace King. You don't. Let's go, buddy.
No.
So let's go, buddy. We start out with half pot again. I think you could go bigger. You could go bigger potentially on the flop, but whatever.
No need to commit too early, you know. Just getting to know the
Just feeling them out. And seeing.
First date.
And you get an ace on the turn. So we have the same effective turn as before, right? Which is a card that I think players typically fairly shy about going ham on because villain will have a decent amount of ace-x in their range. You believe differently?
Yeah, I mean, I think they have decent amount of ace-x in the range. I mean, this hand is, you know, for all intents and purposes, is almost exactly the same as the other one. I think like one of the big differences is that in the other hand I opened on the button, and this hand I opened from MP. So I think my range will be significantly stronger than in the previous hand. But you know, run out sizings I think are all almost the same, and like the concept that I was trying to get across is also the same.
Okay, so here, instead of the other hand, you do pot the turn or 90% the turn.
I really liked her after the first date, so I went a little bigger on the turn.
All right, villain calls. River is a tray. Villain checks. There's 315 in the pot. Villain has 844 remaining in their stack. Don't have to give too many clues as to what Jon does here on the river. He rears back and slams all of his chips into the middle. Announces that he's all in. So like a 2.5x overbet on the river here. So less than the previous hand, which was 4.5x. Here, I think it does make a lot more sense sizing wise, given what you're trying to accomplish. And again, it a lot of it hinges on like how much ace-x calls here, because like I think you could fold out king queen.
King queen is like the queen jack in the other hand. Like I just don't even want them to think about it with king queen. Just don't.
Yeah, for
don't
sure.
even let that enter their minds.
Right. So you jam, and villain does fold. So to spoiler alert, by the way, going back to hand number 1 and asking ourselves if an ace does fold. Well, villain does fold an ace in this hand. So they turn trips, call pot on the turn, and then fold to the river overbet, which I think is vindicating for your plan of commitment here. Maybe might lead to a heart attack at a young age, trying to make villains fold out trips too often. But no, strong heart.
Yeah, it was funny because like I started saying in like early in the intro, but like my fiance came out like on the turn, I think, when I potted, and then as soon as he called the pot on the turn, I was like, I think I'm gonna have to jam the river.
And then I jammed the river, and she was like, "Do you think they ever fold an ace in this spot?" And I won the pot, and then she was like, "That was a lot of money to win like $150."
So your fiance obviously plays poker, right?
She used to play a lot more than she does now. So I mean, she knows enough to be able to like come in the middle of the hand and kind of know what's going on, and but not enough to know that they fold an ace on the river. Pile all the money in.
This is the wagon that I'm hitching to, I guess. Oh, you have trips. I'll bet everything that I have.
We have a wedding in 5 months, John. Like, what are you doing? You're trying to make them fold 3 aces?
Yeah. Well, you did more than try. You succeeded, sir. Yeah, it's I think that like one thing that is routinely talked about in hand history reviews and Greatness Village is like, villain has X. Like, it's so easy to tell yourself the story when you like check the river and villain shows their hand that like, oh, they never fold that. Oh, they never fold that. Oh, they never fold that. Well, they do fold whatever that is more often than you would think. And like, really, the more money that goes in the pot, like typically the stronger the hands need to be. And sometimes, top pair, top kicker, when a lot of money goes in post flop, just like isn't strong enough to call it, and people will fold it, right? And I think that like if you think about how as the listener you yourself play poker and how you think about spots, and think about like, yeah, there are times where I'm sure you folded 2 pair, I'm sure you folded an overpair, I'm sure you folded top pair, top kicker. Well, your opponents are thinking about poker in a similar way to you, and so like these hands, you can generate folds if you fully commit. And John, for better or worse, the man is a committer. So
I think one thing that I want to add too is I see this like a lot in the village, but also even in Wolves, where like in Wolves we have guidelines for bluff sizing on the river in this situation. And I see it in the village where like people just kind of stick out like the 2/3 or 3/4 on the river as their standard bluff size, because that's just what I do. It's a pretty big, it's a pretty big bet and whatever. But I think that's like on certain runouts and certain board textures, like you have to be thinking a little bit more than like, oh, this is just the size that I bluff on the river. Like 60 or 70%, I think is just like never folding out a king on this run out. And once they call pot on the turn, they like always have at least like, king jack type of hand that's just not folding on the river if you 2/3 it. And so I don't know if it's like how much of it comes from just like being lazy and like not turning your brain on and like thinking about that on the river, or how much of it comes from like maybe like fear, like, oh, I don't want to like put in a ton of money against what could easily be ace X and he's just going to snap me off. But I do think that there's like, when I like look at hand histories again, even from some of the Wolves, there's like a lot of improvement that can be made on picking the right river size depending on range advantage and run out.
I think a lot of it is due to your high level understanding of range interaction and just like range interaction with the board, and just visualizing how much pressure each component of villain's range can really hold up to, and recognizing like, oh, villain's range here on the river, like for all intents and purposes, holds up extremely well to a 70% bet or a 90% bet or a 50% bet or whatever, right? Like just the hands that they get here with are going to call the river as well for the most part. So in order to start generating folds, you have to choose a larger size. And I think that's just due to like, you have a very strong ability to hand read and recognize the situation and what your mission is here on the river, which makes bluffing more efficient. And I think that like there's a lot of subtlety and nuance that comes with being really good at bluffing and understanding what you're targeting as you try to bluff and generate folds. And that's just something that like, I think the listener and pretty much everyone can really think about. But I think like what you're saying there is a bit of an oversimplification, in that there are many pieces that make up arriving at the decision to jam the river versus choosing a different size. And you really have to see the situation with a lot of clarity to recognize that this spot merits, this sizing versus other sizings.
Mhm.
So I don't think it's as easy as you think is basically the
Sorry.
long and short of what I'm saying. But yeah, these are good hands. This is a great topic. And I don't have really anything left to add. I would say the listener, you want to join in these discussions, greatnessvillage.com, hop into the Slack community. You can ask both myself and Jon questions, as well as all the other villagers. Now there's like 600 or so in Greatness Village. We're growing, we're expanding. We might be a hamlet in the near future.
Is a hamlet bigger than a village?
I don't know. We're not a metropolis. I know that much. We're not a town. we haven't made it to towndom, but metropolis, I guess, would be the end goal.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, like the genesis for this Tactical Tuesday episode was like a villager bringing a hand in PPH, and then like another hand, I think actually from the same villager in the university hand history channel. So like, yeah, if you join, like whatever topic you want to talk about, like could very easily be on Tactical Tuesday or at least like discussed in the village. Yeah.
For better or worse.
I will risk violent punts to prove to prove things to you.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Tactical Tuesday. And that's all I have for you.
Cool. See you next week.
Thanks for listening to Chasing Poker Greatness. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts or on your favorite podcast app. Go to chasingpokergreatness.com to get the newsletter. Join the Greatness Village community, book a coaching session, or dive into the latest data-driven poker courses. Follow the show on Twitter @CPG Podcast.